Hi everybody, Karen Roby here with EdBot. We've got a question for you, Ed, right off the top here that Microsoft has released a beta this week.
That's right, they released a beta of Microsoft Edge.
Which obviously leads to the next question here, is I thought there was already a Microsoft Edge here, Ed, so you're going to have to explain this to all of us.
Yeah, this does get confusing. Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, has done what they do with branding, and they released a new version of Microsoft Edge this week that is completely different from the old Microsoft Edge, which has been around for 4 years. It's basically a reboot of Microsoft's browser strategy, and in fact, it's the third reboot, by my count, that they've had in the last 10 years. Back in 2012, when Windows 8 came out, they did a reboot of their strategy to come up with something that they called Modern Internet Explorer, Modern IE. And that was about as popular as Windows 8 was, and it disappeared about as quickly as Windows 8 did. Then in 2015, they did another reboot of their browser strategy with the original version of Microsoft Edge. And in that one, what they did was to throw out most of the bits of the old rendering engine, the Trident engine that Internet Explorer had used, and they came up with a new modern browser called Microsoft Edge that was based on that was designed to be compatible with modern web standards rather than backward compatible with sites that were originally built 10 years earlier. And that was a good idea, but unfortunately it didn't succeed in the marketplace. The marketplace has pretty much rejected the Microsoft Edge that came out with Windows 10. I looked at some analytics, discovered that in 2017, roughly 20% of Windows 10 users were using Microsoft Edge, which is the default browser in Windows 10. By 2018, it had dropped to roughly 17%. And the last time I checked, for the last 90 days, the usage share had gone down to roughly 16%. And in fact, what's embarrassing for Microsoft is that Internet Explorer is still getting more usage from Windows 10 users than the new shiny modern browser, Microsoft Edge. So they came out this week releasing the beta channel for the new Microsoft Edge, which is based on the open source Chromium code base. And that's the same exact code that's at the core of Google's Chrome browser.
All right, so and maybe third time's a charm here, but your thoughts here. Why do you think that this the reboot's happening now?
Well, the marketplace has made it pretty clear that they prefer Google Chrome to the browsers from Microsoft Edge. There's basically two reasons that people have been using a Microsoft browser for the last couple of years. One is because they're in a corporation and they're using Internet Explorer, and they have old legacy software that is designed that has to run on Internet Explorer. So that's been the one core of Microsoft's browser strategy, and it's something that Microsoft is trying to get rid of. So they came out with this new browser, but it wasn't quite compatible enough. It was maybe 95%, maybe 96 or even 97% compatible. But when 2 or 3 or 4% of the websites that you're visiting every day are having problems, at some point you just throw up your hands and say, well, I'm going to install Google Chrome. And so what Microsoft did was they said, fine, we're tired of trying to chase down these little tiny compatibility bugs in the original Microsoft Edge browser. So we're just going to throw away that entire rendering engine, and we're going to base our new browser on this open source code base, and then we'll add our own interface on top of it, and we'll hope that people will adopt it. That whatever is keeping them from using Microsoft Edge on Windows 10 will convince them that they should use the new Microsoft Edge on Windows 10 and on other platforms. Because what's really interesting here is that in addition to releasing a beta for Windows 10, Microsoft has also released betas of Microsoft Edge for Mac OS, so it'll run on your Mac. And it's in addition, it's available on older versions of Windows 7 and Windows 8.1, which were not supported previously. And in addition to that, there are Edge browsers for Android and iOS that again are using the same Chromium open source engine. So there's now a cross-platform strategy, which is something that Microsoft hasn't had in about 20 years.
Yeah, and I guess, Ed, you've done a lot of research on this and have your timeline and all of that listed out here in this article. So I guess the real question at this point is, why do you think that this reboot will work? Maybe how's it different than the other two? Some advantages and disadvantages there that you see.
Sure. Well, there's two kinds of customers out there. One is just ordinary people, consumers and small businesses who are browsing the web. And for them, basically Google Chrome has become the de facto standard. If you're a web developer, you're probably using Chrome, whether it's on a Mac or on a Windows PC or on a Linux machine. And so your primary measure of compatibility is, does it work on Google Chrome? So the idea is that by basing the new Microsoft Edge on the same code base, that you can cut down compatibility issues to essentially zero. And on top of that, the one thing that's different this time that maybe wasn't true 4 years ago or 8 years ago is that a lot of people are suddenly skeptical of companies whose entire business model is based on advertising. Facebook has gotten a lot of bad publicity in the last year, well-deserved, I might say. And Google is getting some of the same issues related to privacy. And their customers, again, we're talking consumers and small businesses here, look at Google Chrome and they go, I don't know, can I really trust Google? So the advantage, the real competitive advantage that Microsoft could assert here is that they can protect your privacy in a way that Google can't, while offering the exact same compatibility that Google Chrome has. Now, for corporate customers, there's a completely different set of standards. Microsoft's goal is to get people off of Internet Explorer. It's old, it's insecure, it's deprecated and no longer being developed except for security patches. And so it's really, really important that enterprise customers get off of that. So the advantage here is that with the new Edge, you have a browser that's basically the same as Google Chrome, but it has enterprise level features in it that allow administrators to designate certain sites as saying, no, these have to run in Internet Explorer. So you visit them in Edge, they work just fine, just as if you were using Chrome. But on the sites that have to run in Internet Explorer, you just divert that URL over to Internet Explorer. You run that right in the same window there, and you get all the compatibility advantages that you would have had before. And you're able to essentially eliminate Internet Explorer from your corporate desktop. And as we move into 2020, Windows 7 is out of support as of January 2020, and they're really trying to move those corporate customers into the modern world. So that's probably the biggest driver in terms of releasing the new Edge.
All right, some great explanation there, Ed. We thank you for that. If you want to learn more about Ed's writing, his research, make sure you check out Tech Republic and ZDNet. Thanks for watching.